Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to Football League World TV. My name is Toby Wilding, and joining me this afternoon to look ahead to all of tonight's EFL action across the Championship, League One, and League Two is my fellow Football League World journalist, Ben Wignall. Ben, thanks for joining me. How are you doing today?
Doing good, Toby. It's a very rare occasion where it's just two Northerners on and not populated by Southerners in this stream, and we've got a lot of EFL fixtures to talk about. It's good when it's a full midweek card of Championship, League One, and League Two action. Something for everyone to get stuck into.
Yeah, absolutely. There is plenty to keep an eye on over the course of this evening in all three divisions. So we're going to dive straight into that. Just as ever, if you do have anything you'd like to say about any of the games we're going to be discussing, please do so via the comments section. And if you are watching on our YouTube channel, FLW TV, please don't forget to like and subscribe. But for now, let's get started in the Championship. And we're going to start in the Championship at Bloomfield Road, where West Brom are the visitors to Blackpool this evening. The Baggies suffered another blow in their promotion hopes on Saturday, losing to Huddersfield. So that leaves them 8 points adrift of Bournemouth and Fulham in the automatic promotion places. Could have been even more had it not been for that stunning win for Derby over Bournemouth on Sunday. So do you think, Ben, that we could see pressure start to mount on Valerian Ismail if there's another poor result here for the Baggies?
I'm not too sure about pressure on his job. I know there's pressure coming from the fans. I think they'd expect to be there or thereabouts with Fulham and Bournemouth, and I think they're lagging behind a little bit by something like 6 or 7 points. Things were going well, obviously, first 10, 11 games, and they've took a turn recently, not just away from home. I know they've lost quite a few in a row, but they've drawn to the likes of Middlesbrough at home, where they'd expect to win, but they've got the players to turn that form around and make it a winning run again. But I'm just not sure with the form they've been in away from home, away from the Hawthorns, that they'll do it this evening, because Blackpool are a team that are very much in form, to the surprise probably of many.
Yeah, and as you say, it's been a really impressive start to the season for Blackpool, perhaps against a few expectations. They're just 3 points off the top six as it happens, although they haven't won in their last three, actually. So with sort of the situation West Brom are in at the minute, could this be a chance for them to get back on track?
I think so, yeah. Obviously, we know West Brom have got a good squad, but something's just not clicking away from the Hawthorns right now. And in Neil Critchley, Blackpool have got someone who's getting the best out of a squad that doesn't have too much experience on the whole at this level. But, they've got the likes of Gary Medine, Richard Keogh, players who have been at this level to guide them through. And I think there's just a good spirit around Blackpool at the minute. The fans are, very much behind Critchley, and the fact he's got a new deal shows that he's being backed. And, I wouldn't put it past him begrudgingly, obviously being a PNE fan, them winning this evening.
So yeah, that'll be one to watch, as we say. And you sort of mentioned there yourself as a Preston fan, so that's where we're going to head to next, to the Riverside Stadium, where Middlesbrough are hosting Preston. It was first game in charge of Borough for Chris Wilder at the weekend. That ended in a 1-1 draw with Millwall. So do you think, Ben, given sort of the reputation he's arrived with at Middlesbrough, he could do with a win quickly, to really sort of get the ball rolling there?
Yeah, I think it's important for any championship manager right now to be getting wins. There's such a big pack of teams trying to break away from a potential relegation scrap and, pushing themselves into a playoff race. And Borough, one of those teams just sitting in mid-table, it could go either one or two ways. And that's why they've dispensed of Neil Warnock and brought a manager in who's, chomping at the bit to get back into management. I think they showed a bit of promise against Millwall, and the goal they conceded arguably shouldn't have happened, because there should have been a free kick at the other end, and then there was an elbow on Paddy McNair. So they might have been a bit unfortunate, Middlesbrough, in that sense, to not get that first win on Saturday. But they've got a very talented squad. The signings he made in the summer, likes of Sporo, Hernandez. They've got talent, and they still got, Tavernier, McNair, all very good championship players. And I can't see him waiting for a win too long. And in all honesty, I could probably see it coming this evening.
Yeah, and as you say, every championship manager needs wins at the minute, and perhaps none more so than Frankie Mcavoy at Preston. We've sort of seen reports that this could be his final game in charge if North End don't pick up a good result tonight. Do you think that's the right approach for Preston to be taking to this one?
Yeah, I think it will happen if we lose. We saw against Bournemouth though a few weeks ago when we're kind of written off before the game. We can pull a performance out of nowhere, and we do have some very talented players in the squad, but for whatever reason, McAvoy's not getting the best out of him. And he's given the job on the form of his last his 8 caretaker games in charge at the back end of last season, but like a few people have pointed out, including me, that a lot of those games were dead rubbers, and he's coming to a new season, signed a few players, but quite a few of them have got injured, and the results have been mixed. Some people at the club think we're doing all right, but the result at Nottingham Forest where we folded very tamely 3-0, and then the second half against Cardiff, if you listen to some of the fans, there's one of the worst performances that second half there's been for a while. It's just not good enough, and I think a lot of fans have probably had enough of Frankie now. There's no debating that he's a sound guy when you speak to him. He's been in football for quite a while, obviously under Alex Neil as an assistant. But when the fans start to voice their opinions and attendance is dwindling, a lot of apathy surrounding the club, I think it's inevitable if we don't get a result tonight. A change is probably coming.
Yeah, and of course, Frankie Mcavoy, while he is one of those under pressure, he's not the only manager who might be facing a bit of scrutiny depending on results tonight. Another manager in that position we find at Reading, where Sheffield United are the visitors. This is a game between two sides with just one win in their last 6 each. And reports sort of surfaced yesterday saying that Sheffield United had considered parting company with Slavisa Jokanovic after their defeat at Blackburn in the final game before the November international break. Is that something that sort of surprised you? And do you think it could be a question that they're forced to ask themselves again after tonight's game?
It didn't surprise me. Obviously, Sheffield United will want results quickly, and the fact they're 18th in the table after 18 games is nowhere near good enough. They've pretty much got the same squad that they've had for the last 2 seasons, and one of those they played very well in the Premier League and finished in the top half. So, you'd be expecting them to be up there with your Fulhams and your Bournemouths, but something's clearly not clicked yet under Jokanovic. His favoured 4-2-3-1's not really been working consistently. So he changed back to, a back three that this Sheffield United squad are used to playing, and it was a bit of a dismal 0-0 with Coventry on Saturday. I think if they do lose tonight to Reading, who have a good team in their own right, they've got quite a few game winners, but when you weigh up the two squads on paper, you would expect to see a Sheffield United win, and if they do lose, I think he could be in danger. But the only thing that I think could be saving him is, I imagine it will be a big payoff if he is sacked, and Sheffield United probably don't want to, I know they're getting parachute payments, but they probably don't want to, bite the bullet this early, especially when I think me and Alfie spoke about this on one of the debate shows when we were discussing Jokanovic, and if he can get Sheffield United promoted, he's got a very good record in the second half of the season with Fulham and Watford, where he's been able to turn things around. So you'd be hoping he'd be getting some good results between now and Christmas, assess the squad in January. But yeah, if a good result doesn't happen tonight, I think the pressure's just going to be ramping even more on him.
Yeah, and not the only one thinking that there. Ben Liam's got in touch here. He's saying Slav does need a result tonight against Reading, and also sort of suggesting that perhaps the Blades need to turn to other players other than Morgan Gibbs-White, who's of course on loan from Wolves, to make an impact for Sheffield United going forward. But even so, Liam, there you go. His prediction there for tonight is a 1-0 win for Reading with Andy Carroll to get the goal. If you do have any thoughts you yourselves would like to send in to us, please do so via the comments. And speaking of Reading, Ben, obviously they're now just 2 points clear of the relegation zone after their points deduction. So do you think they actually quite need a result to make sure they don't get dragged into a bit of a relegation battle?
I don't think it's a must win, but obviously any points are crucial at this point. 6 points coming off obviously is not helpful, but I don't think No, so I think they do have enough quality to stay away from that relegation zone over the long run. They've got game winners in the squad. John Swift, even though his goal scoring contributions have kind of quietened down a little bit, he can still pull something out of nothing. And they've still got the likes of Lucas Chow to come back from injury, so I think they will be fine in the long run. But like many teams, they've been inconsistent, being that pack in the middle of the table. If they didn't have those 6 points deducted, I think a draw on Saturday as Nottingham Forest is a pretty good result considering they had a few injuries. And I think bringing Andy Carroll in, if he's match fit, I think that's a real weapon to have in this division. A lot of games are won by set pieces in the EFL, and he's one from corners and free kicks who can provide a real outlet, and he could, give the likes of Ben Davies and John Egan a real battle tonight if he is picked.
Yeah, and Carroll obviously came into Reading last week, got his debut off the bench at the weekend, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of part he plays this evening. You mentioned obviously their Forest were the team Reading played at the weekend, and turning our attention to them now, they host Luton tonight. Obviously, it's still only the one defeat for Forest since Steve Cooper's appointment, but it's just one win in the last 4, 3 draws in that time. So do you think Forest need to get back on the winning trail soon to perhaps really keep that feel-good factor going under the new manager?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said with Reading, I don't think it's a need to win situation right now, considering there's so many teams, on kind of like the same amount of points. But it'd certainly be helpful. I think the only defeat that's Cooper's had was against Fulham, and that's nothing to be ashamed about, considering how good they are right now. But they're proving hard to beat when they play everyone else, and obviously when they've picked up points at the likes of QPR, when they scored a last-minute goal, it just shows they've got something like a cutting edge going forward from different players. He's got the best out of the likes of Jack Colback coming back into the team, so there's definitely something good going on down there. And if the attacking players can thrive, the likes of Zinkernagel, Brennan Johnson, then I can see a Forest win against a team who are in a bit of a poor run of form right now.
Yeah, as you say, they're not the best run for Luton at the minute. Just 1 win, 3 defeats from their last 4. Have we seen enough from their sort of early season form where they were pushing for the playoffs to suggest they can turn that around?
Yeah, I think they can turn it around. I'm not entirely convinced it'll happen tonight. I guess it's just one of those teams getting in the middle of the pack that they're going to have a few purple patches over the season, and then a few bad results. Like you said, they've lost 3 of the last 4. But I watched some of the game against QPR on Friday night, and they had plenty of chances, especially early on, to take the lead or score a few goals, and they were just a tad wasteful. They've shown some defensive frailties recently. I watched them against PNE a few weeks ago, and I think we got behind their defence a lot more times than I expected us to. I think with the form of some of Forest forwards who are in this season, like I mentioned, Brennan Johnson's stepped up to the Championship, and in some games he's been unplayable. I think Luton, if Johnson and his teammates are thriving tonight, I think they could be in for a tough evening. But you never know what you're going to get with Luton. It could be a defensively resilient performance, but I think I'd edge on the side of a Forest win this evening.
Yeah, so that would obviously keep the run going for Forest if they do get that. Now, the final game coming up in the Championship this evening is at the Ricoh Arena, Coventry hosting Birmingham. Birmingham coming into this one on the back of back-to-back defeats, losing 2-0 to Hull at the weekend, of course. So do you think the Blues sort of need a result here to lift the pressure on Lee Bowyer a bit? Do you think pressure's going to come onto him if they don't get something here?
I don't think he's under that much pressure, considering he's been on an even worse run earlier in the season. They went 7 games without a win, 6 games without a goal. You would have thought the pressure would be amped up on him then, but I think they came out of that pretty well and won 3 times in a row after that. So I think he just needs one game where they click again. I'm unsure if it'll be tonight, but I'm sure they'll be backed by a big travelling army of fans who could potentially make a difference. I know that Coventry have probably been helped by their atmosphere as well at home. So Birmingham kind of negating that with a big atmosphere from the away end could potentially help. I can't see him getting a win tonight, Birmingham, maybe a draw at best, but I've no doubts that it should be an entertaining game.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that Birmingham might be taking somewhere around 4,000 to the Rico tonight. But Coventry, obviously, they're still well in the playoff hunt. They're fifth at the minute. So do you think when you consider that sort of stutter that Birmingham have had a bit recently, that this is a game they need to be looking at as one to pick up all 3 points?
Yeah, I think they should be targeting every game, to be fair, at the minute at home, considering the form they've been in there. I think it's just one loss, I think, that came against Swansea at the CBS Arena. I think one person who could be doing with, getting back into form is Gyökeres. I don't think he scored for 7 games or something like that. So I think his early season form was very crucial to some of the wins they've been picking up. And I think ever since he got a bit of a knock, a bit of an injury against Blackburn in the 2-2 draw, I think he's been a bit off colour. I think Godden's picked up the slack a little bit, but I think if Gyökeres can find his touch again, they've got more chance of getting a win. But they've got other game changing. They know Callum O'Hare on his day is a lightning player, very good to watch. But yeah, I think that the crowd that gets behind Coventry, I think that's a major factor to their home form. And if they're on song, I think they can be on song on the pitch as well.
Yeah, definitely. So that is all the championship games that we've got coming up tonight. So now we're going to turn our attention to League One, starting with a huge game at the top of the table. And that, of course, comes at Home Park, where it's first versus fourth, Plymouth versus Wycombe. League leaders Plymouth, though, coming off a first defeat in the league since the opening day of the season after that loss to Charlton at the weekend. So how important for them is it to bounce back, and how much of a statement of intent would it be if they're able to respond quickly to that?
Yeah, even though, they've been in fantastic form, Plymouth, losing just once before Saturday, I wasn't too surprised that they lost. I know they had a replay against Sheffield Wednesday in the week in the FA Cup, and that may have took it out of them a little bit. And Charlton obviously in great form under Johnny Jackson, so I don't think Argyle fans should be too disheartened about that result. And I think it would be kind of a statement of intent if they were to get back to winning ways. I think the home form has been excellent. They've not been beating the league this season at home park, but I always think that Wycombe are a tough nut to crack under Gareth Ainsworth. You associate his teams with being defensively solid, playing direct football, although they can mix it up. And if they've got quite a few seasoned pros at the back, likes of Jacobson and Tafazoli, who'll be trying to keep Hardy and Jeffcott quiet if they're the two that play up front. Despite the recent form Wycombe have been in, which we'll probably touch on in a minute, I do think that there will be a tough task for Argyle to get past.
Yeah, as you say there, we are going to sort of look a bit at Wycombe now. Obviously, they ended a run of 6 without a win at the weekend, beating Bolton, and now they could actually go top with a win here tonight over Plymouth. So that's got to be a huge incentive for them to build on ending that poor winless run, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised when I realised Wycombe hadn't, defeated any of the teams you'd expect to, be up there at the top of the table this season. They've either been, losses or draws, against the likes of Wycombe, Sunderland, Ipswich, and I think maybe it's a sign that they'll, easily put away the lower teams in the division. But this season they may just come unstuck against the ones with more resources behind them. I wouldn't class Plymouth as one of those who, like a Wigan, Sunderland or Ipswich that have those resources, but, they're clearly talented to be as high up the table as they are, and, back at home park with their crowd behind them where they're unbeaten. I'd be expecting Plymouth to get back to winning ways, but it's certainly going to be a tough one. I can't see it, being a convincing win for Ryan Law's side.
Yeah, it could be a really tight one, this. Liam, again, getting in touch with one of his predictions here. He's back in Joe Jacobson to give Wycombe a 1-0 win at Home Park tonight. Now, another big game that we've got coming up in the promotion battle in League One sees Rotherham host Ipswich. Rotherham will be looking to make it 15 unbeaten in all competitions tonight. Can you see anyone stopping Paul Warne's side at the minute?
I mean, it's always possible being the EFL, there's always an odd result coming around the corner. But I think it's hard to see anyone beating them with the form they're in. They're kind of proving that theory that they're too good for League One, but just, fall short kind of it at Championship level by a tiny margin. They've kept most of the squad together. They let Matt Crook score, but aside from that, they've really kept all the players from last season, and it's no surprise really to see him flying this season unbeaten. The last 14, Michael Smith's scoring for fun, and I don't think anyone, any League One fan, will be surprised to see Rotherham be one of the flying teams right now.
No, they have been absolutely excellent this season. As for Ipswich, obviously it's another chance for them against one of the promotion sides. They've thrashed Wycombe recently, but they've also gone down to Plymouth, lost there, and obviously we saw them getting beaten at Sunderland at the weekend. So do you think they need to sort of get a bit more consistency against these teams that are going to be challenging for promotion if they themselves are going to compete at the top of the table this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously they had the early season struggles, and I think after Sam Morsey came in at the end of the window, I think the results have been on a bit of an upward curve. I think there's been a few odd losses in there, but I think if any team at the minute that can stop Rotherham, it could be an in for Ipswich. I know they've been beaten convincingly by Sunderland and Bolton in the last few months, but I think if they bring the team that demolished Portsmouth in October, then I think they could easily sneak a win here. If Paul Cook can just get his defence sorted a little bit to nullify the threat that Smith and Ladapo pose, and they can get Macaulay Bonne on the goal scoring track again, then I think they could be potentially surprised. There's no guarantees in League One. I know Rotherham are on this unbeaten run, but so with Plymouth this past weekend, you got Cayman stuck against Charlton. Ipswich, the talent they've got in the squad, they should be beating a lot of teams in this division, but it just depends which one turns up. But I certainly think there might be a few goals in this one this evening.
Yeah, definitely. And as we say, they're going to be a tight one. Harry, though, he's going for Rotherham to win tonight, and even then going on to win League One this season. And I think there's probably a few there who would agree with Harry on that one. One other game we're going to look at now in League One sees Sunderland travel to Shrewsbury. They obviously ended that winless run at the weekend, as we say, beating Ipswich. How important was that? And you've got to say, do you feel this is a big chance for them to back that up tonight?
Yeah, it's a big chance for 3 points playing against a struggling team. I think Sunderland have put a few away before they had that little losing run last month. They beat Gillingham and Crewe quite convincingly before they were defeated by the likes of Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday. I think Saturday was more like it, beating a team you expect to be up there for the playoffs at the end of the season in Ipswich, and I think it'll definitely have eased the pressure on Johnson somewhat. I think Football League Wales exclusive was that Kirill Louis Dreyfus was expecting results, and there was pressure on Johnson to deliver them, and that was the first one in a line of results you'd expect to come from Sunderland. They're back in the top six now. I think it's important that Aidan McGeady's got back on the score sheet. I know it was just a penalty, but I think that'll be a big confidence boost for him, and you expect McGeady, someone like him, to start firing again now, bringing both goals and assists to the table, and playing against a team like Shrewsbury, who are quite clearly struggling, could be a good chance for him and his fellow attackers to get back on it and put a convincing 2 or 3 goal win together.
Yeah, big opportunity this for Sunderland, you feel. But as for Shrewsbury, as we say, they're in some really poor form at the minute. They could even go bottom tonight with a defeat, depending on results elsewhere, it should be noted. Could you see any way of them getting something out of this one?
Well, like I said, with Rotherham potentially losing their unbeaten run, anything can happen in the EFL. But I think Shrewsbury's best hope is probably, sitting back and hoping to either grab a goal on the counter attack or from a set piece. I don't think it'd be wise to, go toe to toe with a team like Sunderland who'll play it on the floor and they'll look to be expansive and attacking. And I think despite being at home, Shrewsbury fans may have to, be a little bit patient this evening whilst, kind of weather the Sunderland storm early on and perhaps try and nick a goal from a set piece or counter attacks. That seemingly probably will be the best chance of getting one.
Yeah, this is the sort of game that you feel for Shrewsbury could be set up for one of those classic EFL smash and grabs if they're going to get anything. Now, though, we're going to turn our attention to League Two, and funnily enough, another top versus bottom style encounter. And that will come at Sixfields, where promotion chasing Northampton, going up against relegation threatened Oldham. Northampton still fifth in the table and could potentially move into the automatic promotion places tonight, although they are winless in their last 5 in all competitions. So how important for them is it to get back on track quickly in a game such as this?
Yeah, very important. I think they're perfectly capable of doing so. I think they beat some good teams this season. Northampton, the likes of Newport, Tranmere and Port Vale this season, but quite a few teams in League Two, they're probably lacking that 20-goal season striker at this level to win them games on a consistent level. I do think it may be another frustrating one for him this evening. Is Oldham will probably play with 5 defenders and look to frustrate them and hit on the counter attack. So it might be a case of just being patient, like I mentioned for Shrewsbury in the Sunderland game. It might be a case of Northampton being patient and just waiting for that one moment for Oldham potentially expose themselves at the back to break through. But they've certainly shown enough this season to make people think that they will be like a playoff team, and it's obviously John Brady's first season as a full-time manager, and you've got to say he's doing a pretty solid job so far.
Yeah, definitely. Every credit to him with that challenge. As we say, it will be a tough task for Oldham, but many would have said that about their clash with Port Vale, another promotion-changing side on Saturday, and they of course got a win out of that one. So can lightning strike twice here, especially with Keith Curle going back to his former club tonight?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't think Oldham is bad as the league position suggests. They've got some really solid players for League Two level. They've got a bit of mix of youth as well coming through the academy, the likes of Benny Couto and Harry Vaughan, who have come through this season under Curle, and Jamie Borden from Spurs. He's getting game time, and he's could be a good player up the EFL in the future. And of course, they've got Bahan Bula as well, who's perhaps one of the most creative players in League Two. So they just need to find something that clicks, and maybe that result on Saturday against Port Vale, the 3-2 win, might just give them that catalyst to move up the table. They're not in the bottom 2 right now. I think they're 22nd in the table. We know there's been off-field unrest. There's always protest due to the ownership of the club, but I think the players are proving that they can defy that on the pitch. And I wouldn't be shocked if they end up some point climbing away from the bottom 2 and into mid-table. And I can honestly see him getting at least a draw tonight at Sixfields.
Yeah, that would be another very impressive result for the Latics if they could get that. But as you say, one that is far from out of the question. Just one more game we're going to finish on now, and that's comes at Valley Parade, which Bradford against Tranmere, 10th versus 11th. Are you a bit surprised that we're not talking about a game here between two teams higher up the League Two table?
Yeah, I think so. I'm slightly surprised more at Bradford than Tranmere. Derek Adams swapping Morecambe, getting promoted to League One for Bradford. I assume that they'd be instantly in a promotion push, with the fan base they've got, the squad they've put together. But, they're definitely underperforming currently. I think Andy Cook being out for a month isn't going to help. He's their talisman. And I don't think Theo Robinson or Colin Lavery can, I'd probably butcher his first name there, but Lavery, I don't think they can provide that kind of threat that Cook does. For Tranmere, I think they need to come out of the blocks firing tonight. We know they've got talent in the team, the likes of, Callum McManaman, Josh Hawkes, very creative players. And I think if anyone's going to get the best out of him, it's Mickey Mellon. Obviously, he's got a history with Tranmere earlier in his career. And I think if they can just get that one win to rejuvenate the season, they've not won for 5 league games up to now. They can definitely push into the playoffs, but League Two looks very competitive this year. A lot of teams pushing for those 3 promotion spots automatically in 4 playoff places. I fully expect these two to go on a run at some point and end up in that top 7. But it's hard to split them right now on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. And as we say, despite sort of their positions in the table, worth noting that a win here for either side would move them sort of level on points with the playoffs. They're only 3 points off at the minute, so there is plenty of incentive there for one of those two sides. Well, that just about covers everything we've got time for this afternoon. as I say, that concludes our roundup of all the action we're going to be looking ahead to from the three divisions in the EFL tonight. But obviously there are plenty more games to keep an eye out for. And if you are at any of those, please do enjoy the match. Ben, thanks to you for joining me this afternoon. Thanks to you for watching at home. Please do keep your eye out for more FLW TV content coming tomorrow and beyond that. And of course, best way to do that is by liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel, FLW TV. For now, though, take care and we'll speak to you again soon.